Hey everyone, it's Marianne, and this week we are talking about labels and language that we use. The first question that was asked was, what does the word queer mean to us? Now, for me, growing up, queer was a bad word, and I never used it because it was a bad word. And then when Aiden and I got together, don't know when in the relationship, but we were having conversation, and he used the word queer. I think either describing himself or describing someone or something like that. And I remember just looking at him and I was like, oh, you said a bad word. And I was just confused because to me it was a bad word. And here's Aiden just using it freely like nobody's business. And I was just like, what the heck? He then obviously explained to me that, queer now has a new meaning and like it's more positive and people are like reclaiming it, so to speak, and just making it a more positive word than negative. So I was just like, okay, like good to know. And didn't want you to be a bad person or anything, but so yeah, he explained to me, I guess, the new meaning behind it. Yeah. As far as language goes, I don't know, we don't live we don't have a big LGBT queer community where we live. It's pretty much zero. Um, so I don't know, as far as language goes, don't really have anything to say on that. Um, the only difference is like my everyday language has changed, I guess. For example, like when I'm checking people in at the airport for their flight, we'll just say, oh, I can help the next person here, or next in line, please, as opposed to like some of my coworkers, they'll be like, oh, I'll help you here, sir, and I'll help you here, ma'am, and they use people's first names from from their file, and I don't do that anymore because obviously dating Aiden, um, the ID or before he legally changed his name, um, his ID had his birth name on it and would just piss him off and devastate him. And when people would call him by his birth name, because that's the name that is on his ID. So obviously people are going to think that that's the name they go by. So dating Aiden has changed just like my everyday language and everyday interaction with people, just because I can see how pissed and upset and can almost ruin or sometimes ruin someone's day when you misgender or use the wrong name. So yeah, just like I said, my everyday language has changed and I don't put pronouns on people or use their name unless they tell me, or yeah. And like even when people message me on Facebook or YouTube when they're talking about like their partner or whatever, I won't assume that their partner, even though they're dating a trans guy, I won't assume that they identify as he. So instead of saying, well, your boyfriend or he or whatever, I'll just say they and your partner. So I just make it very gender neutral just because I don't know how people identify and don't want to ruin someone's day. As far as labels goes, I'm sure I've talked about it like a bajillion times in past videos. I used to identify as bisexual just because that's all that I knew. There was gay, straight, bi, and lesbian. I wasn't straight because I liked women. I wasn't lesbian because I liked men too. So at the time, bisexual is the best word for me. Started dating Aiden, found out of the word pansexual, but also found out that it's okay not to label yourself. So I prefer not to label myself. But if I did need one, for me, pansexual works. And going back to the queer word, I'm not comfortable still kind of using queer, just because in my mind I still kind of have that negative notation with it, but I don't use it in my everyday language. So by all means, if you want to call yourself, like, I know it's not a bad word anymore, so it's okay. And yeah, so yeah, I identify as pansexual if I need to label myself. Most of the time when people don't know what that means, so I need to explain it, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, well, that makes sense. Yeah, don't really have a lot for this topic. I am just kind of pretty much scattered brain right now, and because we leave for Florida in a week and a day. We leave for Florida for Aiden's top surgery, and I just accepted a new job, and that's in a different province, and trying to find a place to live is a lot harder than what I thought it was going to be. I knew it was going to be hard, but not this hard, because conveniently all these owners of these apartments and places had to move suddenly because of work, and they're in Nigeria on a missionary, and but please drive by the place, and if you like it, send me $500 and then I'll give you keys. Yeah, pretty sure that's a scam going on. So it's right now because we have Florida and packing the apartment, and then once Aiden has his surgery, obviously he can't really help me move, and it's just, it's really stressful right now, but it's exciting but stressful. So yeah, that's all I have to say for this week. Obviously next week I'll be posting whatever the next week topic is. I don't even remember at this point. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you all next week.